Hey everybody, welcome back to the program. I'm very excited because here in the Vinyl Pad, I have two very special guests, members of LOM, a fantastic band. If you haven't heard of them, you should, and if you do, you know how cool they are. So thank you so much for being here, Zach.
Hey man,
Nick.
thanks for having us.
Yeah, dude, awesome. When I first heard about your band, I actually saw your band, and it was on Instagram, and you have some beautiful, I mean, they're music videos, but they're more like live performances in a way captured on a very like Technicolor throwback feel, and it just like it caught my eye. And then the music was like, oh, okay, we're staying for this reel. And I wonder if you could touch on that a little bit, the look and the aesthetic, and just developing that, because it is so like it's just a through line through everything that you do. It feels like.
Yeah, for that. A lot of that like Technicolor aspect was from my mentor, this guy named Roberto Miranda, and he's actually kind of a well-known jazz bassist, but he's Afro-Cuban, so he grew up playing all the congas and all the Latin percussion, which he taught me, and he would show me these old tapes of all these old school percussionists playing, and all of those colors are kind of based off of those old tapes he would show me. So that was kind of like the look, a lot of the way like I personally dress, or like how we dress on the videos, like it's very much based off that kind of look, you know?
Yeah, and in terms of like the gear and stuff we use, like the guitars, I think we just all have always liked that those type of stuff, you know? Like I play these old guitars that I kind of got at the time, mostly just because they were cheap, you know? You could get like K's and harmonies for a couple $100 like back in the day. And I've just kind of had them. Most of the ones I play I've had since I was like a teenager, and yeah, I just think they sound kind of different and cool. You know, it's a way to get something that's like fairly cheap, but still has like some character to it, and it's cool. You know,
it's so key. Yeah, I mean, any '50s name brand guitar, like let's say Fender or Gibson or anything, it's unobtainable at this point. To get an authentic, and then God forbid you want to actually tour with it, and it gets, you know, you wouldn't want to do that because they're just so collectible. Unfortunately, like you can't. Yeah. The best you can do is get like a, you know, I don't know if Fender still does it, but they have that like custom shop where they do as best they can. They make them in the U.S. and it's like, it's still like $4 or $5 grand for something like that. But as a guitar player myself, I do like that sort of, that sound you can get that really only comes with something that's maybe doesn't have the best components. You know, it almost like does a lot of the work for you in developing like a guitar tone.
Yeah, I think some of those guitars that those kind of mass produce, like I guess they're like department store guitars that you could buy them at like a Sears or something. Yeah, the action can be a little high. They're not like designed to have perfect intonation or be super easy to play, but I think the limitations, I actually like some of those limitations sometimes, you know. It forces me to not get too crazy and shred and just kind of play things that are, you know, everything I play has to kind of have meaning and be important to me, you know.
Yeah, and I would imagine, like, I mean, especially on the new record, but by and large, there's no vocals on your songs. I mean, there's a couple of collaborations, I think, with Gabby. Does that ever feel like a lot of weight on your shoulders specifically? Because like you're essentially the voice for the band as a guitarist, right?
I mean, you know, me and Nick and Jake have been playing together so much. You know, when we started out, we were playing like a bunch of nights out of the week. You know, sometimes 3 or 4 nights a week, like doing like 3 hours a night. We got to play together so much that it feels like we can kind of think together. You know, we can sort of make stuff up on the spot and kind of know where we're going with each other.
That's awesome. Yeah.
So yeah, it definitely feels like, you know, like a unit. Like it's not just
Yeah, I was reading your biography and it said it kind of, this entity started more or less at the Roosevelt like in 2019. And so that's what you're referring to, like the 3 hours a week, or is that something even before that?
Well, no, I guess that was sort of some of the first.
That's what some of the first things, but yeah, there was a lot of days we were playing not just at the Roosevelt, we were playing at like a ton of hotels on the West Side, and then doing private gigs. So we were gigging like all day a lot of times, you know, to survive. It's not the same as going on tour and selling tickets, like, so you got to be like, we got to work here and here, you know.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, and I would imagine like that's not too dissimilar from like the Beatles, like playing in Hamburg and like just like playing for hours on end. It really tightens you up as a band, like you said.
Yeah.
I think that's, I mean, it's almost like getting paid to practice, even though I know it's not that. I mean, you're performing for sure, but in some ways it's like...
It definitely was, and some of those gigs were... it did feel like that in some ways.
But I imagine like there is a different mentality, almost like a street busker in a way, where it's like people are, if they stop, that means something to you as a performer, but otherwise like people are almost like they might hear you, but they're not necessarily paying attention, right? Or it's different than a concert, like you're saying, Nick.
And one of the cool things about that is it gave us the opportunity to make stuff up a lot, you know, to really kind of rehearse in a way while we're doing a gig. So, like, if we liked something we were playing earlier in the night, we could bring it back up and try it again later in the set, you know?
Yeah.
Which you couldn't do, like, at a real concert. You know?
Right. Mm-hmm. And then I would imagine, like, things, maybe some songs would get a little extended, because might as well just keep going, or if you notice people are vibing with it, you might do that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I knew we were on to something at the Roosevelt that time when we saw people, like, kissing up on the balcony on, like, the mezzanine, and I was like, something good is happening, you know?
Yeah, no, I really get a sense of that. I mean, the thing that came to my head was like nostalgic romanticism. Like that's the idea. There's like this almost this idea of an idealized romance that maybe we only saw in movies, but like you want some of that in your life, and I feel like this is a soundtrack to that in a way. And I really dig it. And was that essentially the same entity that we see today that was at all those gigs? I mean, is it the same trio, or did you have like people come in like to guest and like, hey, come by? Or
I mean, when we started out, we had different musicians come by occasionally, or you know, we were all working different jobs and playing in different groups and things when we started, so we couldn't always make it every night, so there would be different guys subbing out and stuff.
Is that how the name came about, the League of Musicians?
It was like we could grow it or make it as small as we wanted, or really just the first idea was kind of making it being able to back anyone, kind of being this group that could back anyone,
right?
You know, and we still, you know, in a way, I mean, we still want to collaborate with as many people as possible in different genres too. So in a way, like it's still very valid name. You know, this is just the first record we're putting out. You know, but who knows? But there's a lot of collaborators on this record as well. So it really is the League.
Yeah, I wasn't able to see that in the preview I got. So
you didn't see all the people. Yeah.
No, it listed your acronym like 3 times or something, like the track title and then the acronym. I don't know, but like some of the song titles were crack. I mean, I love the song title, like Moonlight over Montebello. Like, I mean, I love that.
That was all Zach.
I love that song too. But like that, I mean, some of the title. I mean, it's so L.A. in a way, or Greater Los Angeles, maybe I should say. And I feel like a lot of that sound is It's from the ground here. It's from the earth here. It's like from your families and like what you grew up with. And I wonder if you could kind of give the cliff notes of how the sound was developed.
Yeah.
Or the influences. Maybe we'll start with that.
Gosh. Yeah, with those song names, a lot of them are streets in LA and stuff. We started doing that just when we were playing back in the lobby, you know, the hotels and stuff. Before I was even really thinking about recording or making anything serious, it was just kind of, we had like little temporary names to call different jams that we were doing. And that was just kind of the mood of certain things. You know, I would always, like Santee Alley was one of the first songs that we wrote together, and it just kind of reminded me of that place, you know, and it just felt right.
Yeah.
But yeah, we've ended up naming a lot of these songs after different neighborhoods and streets in LA. We're all from LA, born and raised. We've gigged all over it and worked all over the city, and you know, we love it. It's just an incredible, diverse place. So many different types of music you find around here. Right. You know, when we were playing early on, when we started out, I think the kind of first place we drew a lot of inspiration from was like old classic Latin music from like the 30s and 40s, that kind of thing.
Definitely, yeah.
It was some of the music that when we first got this gig together, we kind of found that we had in common. Basically, Nick showed me when he brought in his congas to the gig we had. I was trying to find repertoire that I knew about that would kind of work with that, you know, where I could play the melody on guitar. And some of the first music we played were these like boleros from the trio Los Panchos, like classic like Mexican romantic bolero group. I had known about some of that music. I played it when I was younger. I think my dad gave me a record of theirs, and I used to learn all the like melodies, the requinto parts, and all the vocal melodies on guitar and stuff. And you kind of grew up with some of that.
Yeah, like my grandma's from Durango, Mexico, and she grew up listening to like Pedro Infante, like Cien Años. You know, it's one of the most classic old school Mexican boleros. You know, so I think combining that with my mentor's music, we kind of, you know, it was like Afro-Cuban and Mexican music kind of combined was a lot of my upbringing. So me bringing my congas and then combining it with the Americana stuff really kind of created this. That's what created the sound that we have on the record, you know.
I remember another one of the first songs we played together is from this record here. It's called Mi Buenos Aires Querido. My grandpa, he grew up there in Buenos Aires, and when he died, I got this is one of the only things I got from his house when he died was a couple of these Carlos Gardel records, and listened to them a bunch of times. The music really meant a lot to me. So
I bet.
Yeah, when I started, we started playing together. We started bringing in some of those kind of tunes, and they're all songs. You know, he sings everything, but I play them instrumentally, and so that's some of the first stuff that we played together. And then as things kind of started getting a little busier at that hotel we were playing, and people started showing up and stuff, we wanted livelier music. We started bringing in a lot of like kind of like 60s soul kind of tunes, playing instrumental versions of those. And a little more. What I'm trying to think, what else we were playing.
And then, and then a lot of the cumbia, like we all, especially in LA, you always hear a bunch of cumbia happening, and there's a lot of various Mexican cumbia bands that you hear, which then kind of led us to the Peruvian cumbia, which is a lot of the record is very inspired by.
Very much so,
by all the beautiful music of Peru.
Yeah, it's what often gets called chicha music. It's like the Peruvian cumbia that I guess kind of started out in like the 60s, 70s, around that time. And they played the melody would be led on the electric guitar, as opposed to like the Colombian accordion driven kind of cumbia. So that stuff worked really well for us, since I was playing electric guitar. So started learning a lot of those tunes, and
it's like psychedelic rock and roll mixed with traditional Peruvian music, and that's kind of that's the sound of the chicha,
That's a great name. Man, it's been so fun to deep dive through your discography and then check out the new record, and like you're on Verve, which is really, I mean, to me that's a prestigious name, but I'm a record head, it's like I know of like Ella Fitzgerald, like I know it's like more of like a jazz, at least in my mind, like more of a jazz label.
I'm
not sure what it's like today, but I don't know, I still think it's cool that you're on that label. Tell me about that, like tell me about getting that opportunity to work with a label. There's a lot of conversations we had with various labels, and there's a lot of very cool, appealing artists who are on that record, and who are on that label, and have made pretty iconic records. I think Billie Holiday is on there. Isn't Ella Fitzgerald's on there? Stan Getz. It's such a huge. Also, Velvet Underground, right?
That's right,
That's right.
Yeah. So there's a psychedelic element to it.
But they've never had a cumbia band, as far as I know.
Yeah.
As far as so it was like this kind of, it was a cool fit, and we love all those old school jazz records as well. And
tell me about your drumming, because like I'm not a drummer, and lately I've been really getting into drumming, and like really when I go to a concert, like I tend to like focus on the drummer. Because they're to me, the bass and the drummer is such like the backbone. I think that's pretty universal, but that's not novel to say. But I will say, like for me, like my ear tends to go towards more the singer, the guitarist, the keyboards. But lately, I've been trying to like let's give this love, and like I've been so like enthralled by the way your technique, because it's not always was like you know, what most Western, we're used to, like 2 drumsticks or maybe like some brushes or mallets, but it's like you got a whole different setup. Like, is that some of it from your mentor?
So the way I kind of developed playing for this band was really just because in a lot of cumbia and a lot of Latin music, there's like 3 percussionists, like kind of minimum. So I was like, okay, how the hell am I gonna do this? So at the Roosevelt, we luckily had a lot of time. You know, I was like, well, I just kept kind of bringing certain things, and I was like, oh shit, I have to keep. Like, I started out with 2 congas, and I was like, all right, I gotta bring a hi. Let's just try the hi-hat. Let's see if that works. And that was like the bass drum, and then I kind of was like, let's just put the whole drum set with a conga now. And that kind of ended up just having the sound that I needed to be able to cover all the parts, you know, or playing the maraca instead of the guido, you know. I kind of just had to fill up the space the best I could, so that was the only way.
Necessity,
I've seen a few other guys do that, and it's always because of the same reason. You know, we're just trying to fill out a 3-man job.
I mean, I'm very impressed. And then when you tour, is it generally the 3 of you? Okay.
Yeah, always the 3 of us were touring.
But I on the album, I noticed there was additional instrument, like there's some slide guitar.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Is that still the 3 of you, or did you? I mean, you said you brought in. That's right. You said you brought in extra people.
Yeah, we had I guess 3 other players. Yeah. Well, 4 if you count our producer Elliot, who played a little bit of keyboard. But Cody Farwell.
Some sax.
Some sax too. He did. Yeah. Cody Farwell played some great steel on that song "Moonlight Over Montebello." It's kind of featured on there. There's a few other songs where he plays. It was kind of cool when we used to gig a lot with him, and like he'd kind of find ways to play the steel in cumbia, which you don't really hardly ever hear. I don't think I've ever heard it anywhere. But he always found a way to kind of make it work. And yeah, you can hear on the record, you'll hear a lot of that stuff. Dominique Rodriguez is a good friend of ours, a great musician that is kind of like an LA legend. I think he just played in so many good bands around LA, and he plays some additional percussion. And Josh Kaufman is a great like all-around musician, plays a bunch of things, but he plays piano on some of the tracks. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that song "Moonlight Over Montebello," part of the reason for that name is that there's a place out there in Montebello on Whittier Boulevard that we played a bunch of gigs that we really like. It's called Cuarto Central. There's this little coffee shop, Cafe Santo, that the people who run that have this little art gallery in place where they have music, and it's just such a good vibe over there. It just becomes like a crazy dance night every time we play there. Yeah.
And I was curious, like, having been in different bands or different entities, I don't know, but it feels like this has gotten the most traction for you, this group you're in now. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
And what was that like seeing I mean, starting to see the popularity like bubble up? Like, what was that like for you?
It still kind of blows my mind sometimes that we're, it's like we go to, you go to play a gig and, you're just like, oh, I don't know if anyone's going to show up tonight. Like, that still comes in my head a lot. But we walk up and there's always people there. But, where we sell out pretty much most of the places that we play.
Yeah.
So it's been, all over the country, and that blows my mind. And so I'm very grateful for that.
I mean, when we started out playing, background kind of stuff, hotels.
Yeah.
I think Nick might have felt differently, but I certainly didn't have any intention to bring this to like theaters or anything like that. I just was kind of thinking about,
I kind of
he kind of did, but
I had to make it happen.
Yeah, Nick sort of convinced me like, hey, we should get out and do this in front of more people and like
do headline shows basically.
Yeah, and I was kind of reluctant because I was like, who would want to listen to just with no singer, like, who would want to just hear melodies?
It's like I do. I was like, I like to listen to
well, like look at Krungben, right?
Yeah.
I mean, they have some vocals, to be fair, but
sure.
like...
I hadn't even heard of them at the time either, so I didn't know that was a thing that people would...
Like, they're living the life, man. Yeah. They gig like how much and get paid how much? Like, it's... anyway,
no. Yeah, so...
But it makes sense. If you hadn't seen that, you might be skeptical.
Yeah. Sure. So I was pretty surprised just to see, when we started playing at bars, just that anybody would show up to listen to that. But quickly I could see like, oh, this is like a dancing kind of thing. And
yeah,
you know, when we started playing a lot of the cumbia and stuff like that, people would just show up to dance, and it felt like a communal
that's awesome
thing. Like it wasn't just them listening to instrumentals, it was like everyone showing up for this kind of fun party kind of night, you know.
Yeah,
that's so cool.
But yeah, it's a surprise when we go somewhere like Omaha, where we've like never been, and see like a room with hundreds of people that showed up.
Yeah,
like, that's.
But the power of social media and having content and just making the truth is we're just making music that we love, and we're just happy that other people are loving it too. You know.
Yeah.
It wasn't.
But I mean, I feel like there's a lot of I mean, you should give yourselves a lot of credit. I mean, one, it is very good music. You guys are competent players. And just like you've, in my mind, created a very captivating look and sound where it's just like it's the complete package. You know, I think some people forget about the visual element, but it's so like front and center with what you're doing. Like it's just it's like, you know, even on mute scrolling on Instagram, you know, what is this? Is this old? Is this new? Like, and then unmute it. Oh, this is amazing. So
that was my favorite thing. I knew we were doing it right when I saw those like first comments after the Wanna La Cubana video.
Yeah.
And people were like, we don't like, what is this? Like people thought I was old. They're like, oh, I thought these guys like didn't even like exist anymore. Like we're all dead. Like,
that was crazy. There was people who thought that like this was the original and that Fito Olivares did a cover in like the 80s or 90s.
Yeah, we're like, no.
Which is very much not the case.
It's not the truth.
Wow.
Speaking of that, even like I heard the FedEx guy playing Fito the other day, his Cumbia de la Cobra. And I thought it was Jake pulling up or something because I was like around the corner. But it was just the FedEx guy.
Yeah, a lot of those covers that we've done and put up, you know, for everyone to see are stuff that like when we started out playing at bars, a lot of those kinds of tunes got requested a lot.
Yeah.
You know, these are really popular cumbias that get played on the radio too in LA, and like you were saying, you hear them coming out of people's cars and stuff, driving around, like they're everywhere, you know. That one, Wanna La Cubana by Fito Olivares, is one of the like ones I hear the most, I think. But there's some other ones, like this one, Llorar, that we covered and put out a recording of that. It's also a real popular one that gets played on the radio all the time. But the way we play them doesn't really sound like those records, you know. We just partially because of the instrumentation, we do really stripped down with just guitar playing the melody, and that was a big thing for us. Like for kind of forming our sound was learning all these different covers and just making sure to take requests from people, and if we don't know the song that they're requesting, to like learn it, write it down, and learn it later. And,
oh wow!
You know,
there's some that people keep telling us to do, and we're just like
free bird.
They're like, no. The Latino version of that, maybe.
I could hear it. Yeah.
There's one Negra Tomasa
that's the one. Yeah.
We get asked all the time, and we've actually tried, and we have played it a little bit, but we can't seem to get it to work instrumentally in a way we like. So
okay.
Yeah, certain songs they need a certain singer, certain songs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We might work it out at some point. We'll see.
Maybe.
Has it become like a full-time job at this point for you?
Our music. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think when we started out, we were all doing other kind of side things, and it's gotten to the point where there's just not really much time to do anything else seriously, you know.
Yeah. Sometimes I notice like with creative stuff, there's almost that weird in between stage where it's taking up so much time, but it hasn't quite paid yet, but you know it will. But it kind of makes you nervous. Has that ever happened, or are you kind of in that
like early
moment?
on with right before it's like we got a booking agent, and then we're like, oh fuck,
yeah,
like,
but
we can't, you know.
Because when we started, we were playing all these just kind of working gigs, you know, where you're getting paid, and like sometimes playing 2 or 3 of them a day in different parts of town.
Yeah.
And we were kind of like making a living as musicians doing that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And then as soon as we got a booking agent, they're like, you got to quit all those gigs. So we were a little freaked out because we had just spent like a year or almost 2 years kind of building up all these gigs, and we had to just get rid of them all. But
I mean, it's paid off. It was a good thing to do.
Yeah. We didn't want to do those gigs anymore.
Yeah, I mean, some of them we were getting kind of sick of doing. You know?
Sure, yeah. I mean, it's kind of thankless.
Yeah. But we're thankful for them to be able to develop.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, look at it allowed you to experiment and develop this.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, man. I mean,
sound.
It's so hard being a musician here. I mean, really anywhere, I guess, but just, you know, having any kind of gig is
Exactly.
I'm thankful for any kind of gig, you know?
Yeah.
And we pretty much play at every kind of gig.
We have, yeah.
Weddings.
Yeah.
Every
mitzvahs.
Weddings.
Every kind.
Yeah. Funerals.
Oh, yeah.
Did you
Yeah.
do
That's a
that?
big market.
I have
You've
not
done it.
together, but
Yeah,
I've
we
done
did
it.
that. We
Yeah,
did.
okay. But that's a market, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
a dark market.
I used to play with there's this Sicilian musician, actually this record I brought, I can talk about it a little
Oh,
bit.
yeah. Tell
This
me
guy,
about
Tom
it.
Marion, I used to play a lot of these like Italian funerals with him. All kinds of gigs, but including that.
Yeah.
He would always tell me to play Ave Maria on the mandolin. I had like a version I worked out of that. But
that's tricky.
yeah. Tom is he's this musician from San Jose, California. I think of him as kind of a mentor for me for my guitar playing and mandolin playing too. But yeah, he grew up in a family that were Sicilians up in San Jose, and he just got really into the old Sicilian music.
Yeah.
That some of the musicians were playing around there at the cannery he worked at. I met him when I was a kid. He was a friend of my dad's. I played gigs with my dad, and he just taught me all these old melodies. I would usually play mandolin, he played guitar, and sometimes the other way around. Mm-hmm. And we played gigs all over town, starting when I was like pretty little.
Wow.
Playing all this old Sicilian music, I learned so much at these melodies. You know, so many different ones. And
Yeah.
it was just they're ingrained in my mind and kind of influence everything I play. But this record that I brought, Serenata Silvestri, he gave me this. He says that this was a record that he had when he was a kid.
Yeah.
His great aunt, I guess, wanted to throw out all their old Italian records because they reminded her of, you know, the times when they were struggling and back in the old country and everything.
Yeah.
But he, like, as she was throwing them out, he like saved some of them from the trash and saved a bunch of them, and this is one of those, I guess. Yeah.
Have you been able to play that one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have. Yeah, he gave this to me because it was a melody that we used to play together. Yeah. I guess he called it like Silvestri's Serenade. And he wanted me to learn it like the proper way that they play it, with the right rhythm they play on this record.
What year is that about? Do you know?
Probably from the early 20s.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that is that a U.S. pressing?
Yeah. A lot of these old Italian records were made in New York, actually.
Oh, okay.
A lot of these bands had moved to New York from Sicily. So yeah, I don't actually know about these guys specifically, but
78s are it's a whole different beast when it comes to collecting. I mean, I like them. I don't have too many of them.
Yeah.
But they're so fragile. I used to have like a instrumental version or like the original version of Sing 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 with Louis Prima. Like I think when he was a baby is on that playing the trumpet. But it got broken a move, so I was like, you know. But one little snap on them. But apparently
they're really delicate.
Yeah. I think Jack White is really into 78s because he put out that whole reissue of what was that? What's that blues label? It's like Independent or something.
Paramount.
Paramount. Yeah, that's what it is. Yeah. But yeah, there's something different about those older records.
Yeah, man.
The quality of them.
I've got some friends that I've never personally gotten into collecting them. But I've a lot of musician friends I've hung out with have been into that stuff, and there's one friend of mine that collects records from all over the world, all 78s, you know.
Yeah.
And I just heard some amazing recordings that you would never hear anywhere else. A lot of them haven't been released anywhere. There's a song we play called Juan Chaco that I learned from one of his 78s.
I haven't played that in a while.
Yeah, we haven't played it in a while.
Should play that.
It's like this old Peruvian duo. They're doing like a duet, you know, with some kind of, I think it's like a 12-string guitar and singing. And yeah, my buddy Frank, he's got a ton of some great old 78s. He's played me all these cool old, like almost like pre-cumbia, like this music from Panama with like drums and flutes. Wow. Kind of sounds like cumbia, but it's way older than like this stuff, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, it's something with this record.
That's Calixto Ochoa. He was sort of called like the king of vallenato, which is like the kind of old school Colombian cumbia from like Valledupar and that area, which is sort of the classic cumbia that most people kind of hear and imitate, you know, is the Colombian accordion kind of cumbia. And yeah, we play that song, Los Sabanales, the first track on that.
Yeah.
We do our version of that. Yeah, this guy is the man. He's the best.
Yeah.
There's a really good band in LA called Very Be Careful that's been around for a while, and they play a lot of that kind of style, the vallenato cumbia. Those guys are really cool.
Oh, I'll check them out. Yeah. How big is your vinyl collection overall?
It's not very big. You know, I try not to hold on to things that I can find online or that I would have, you know, listen to in some other format or something like that. I try to keep it pretty small. So just have a few things that are important to me or that friends have given me or, you know, that kind of thing.
I think that's key. I mean, I remember when YouTube came about and like so much of this vinyl I had was just like, well, it's up there now. It's like why am I hanging on to this?
Yeah.
I've since bought some stuff back, but I've also like discovered a lot of stuff through streaming too that I want to own on vinyl.
Yeah, there's certain records where that are they're so good or they just mean so much to me that I kind of want to have them on vinyl, even if I found them on like somewhere, you know, on streaming or something.
You can't really overbeat the sound of vinyl. You know, I listened to our record recently, like the test pressings.
Yeah.
And I listened to it on like a really good stereo system with on vinyl, and then I listened to it on like my girlfriend's like little teeny like 12-year-old like record player.
Yeah.
And it sounded great on both, and it just it like has a special
that's awesome
sound.
Yeah. What was like the sort of the thought or the intention of like going into the studio, like in terms of like how you wanted the recording to sound?
Let's see. When we first went into the studio, we basically wanted it to just kind of sound like we sounded live when we were playing.
Yeah.
You know, we were playing a lot of gigs at the time, and our plan was to go into the studio and record 12 or 13 songs in one day within several hours and just kind of do one or two takes each. Yeah. So we did that at the studio called Big Bad, sort of in Highland Park kind of area, Cypress Park, I guess. And we recorded like a ton of these songs, and that was sort of became like the bulk of the record was from those basic tracks we recorded.
Right.
And then our friend Elliot had heard these tracks, and he had a lot of ideas about like doing more overdubs and adding more onto it. And making it something a little bigger than just what we do live. So we ended up recording a bunch of interesting sounds and additional percussion.
I've noticed some of those interesting sounds, especially on that opening track. Yeah. Were you apprehensive at all about adding more, even though like we probably won't be able to do this live?
Yeah.
I think initially, right?
Yeah, I'd say so. Yeah. I like to keep things kind of straightforward, but I think it kind of created a cinematic sound, and I think it was a good thing that we added.
Yes.
You know, I think the live videos that we do, you know, which we're doing for every one of the singles for the record, like we have the live performance that you can watch, and you have the record version that you can listen to, you know, so that's kind of, so we can really, everyone's getting both, you know.
Right.
Where to look.
Well, I also feel like, you know, it's a debut album.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, I don't know if this ever comes across in your head, but, like, long after you're gone, or even, say, you stop performing live, like, that's all anybody really has. I mean, that's almost like the definitive sound. So it's like, why not take some liberties? Why not? You know? But I can understand why that apprehension at first, too.
Yeah, I think initially we were a little kind of freaked out about adding more. Because we really liked the way we were playing together live, and that kind of sound. Yeah, it was sort of what we were used to. But I think pretty quickly we started getting really into the whole process of like finding cool sounds to add to these tracks, you know.
Yeah.
And looking through like Elliot's studio where he just has all this cool percussion and interesting old keyboards lying around and stuff, you know. It's really tempting to just like pick something up and try to make it fit into a track. You know,
that's cool.
I think I pretty much like hit every piece of percussion. Maybe like some things that weren't percussion.
Yeah.
I mean, we really messed around on there for quite a few days. Yeah.
So how long in total did the album take to make?
Let's say so. We did this an initial day, and then after that, we kind of waited a little bit on what to do. But I don't know how many days were we with LA in the studio?
Gosh, I don't know.
Like 10 to 20 days or something.
Oh wow.
Yeah, but it was like
spread out. It was kind of spread out.
Like it wouldn't be like a 12-hour day. You know, it'd be like you'd go in there and maybe do something for a couple hours, and then meet up the next day, and you know.
Yeah.
So it all feels like a dream now.
Yeah. When was this?
It kind of was like it spread out over a long period of time.
Yeah.
That first initial day that we recorded was like, over a year ago.
Okay.
And then we finished tracking in December. When
Something
was that?
like that, yeah.
This past December. So it was kind of like the year spread out. I was like, what's the smartest way to go about this?
So from those initial, like, knocked it out in a day recordings, like, how much of that actually ended up on the finished record?
A good amount, because it's those takes we did were kind of the like basis of a lot of these tracks, you know. Like we added stuff to them, but yeah, most of the stuff was recorded on that first day. There were a few songs that we started in Elliot's studio, like that one Figueroa. That's named that because Figueroa is the street where Elliot's studio is.
Yeah.
That one we kind of came up with on the spot. I think there was one or two others that we sort of came up with at the studio, but most of them were from that initial recording session that we did.
That's pretty. I mean, that's pretty efficient, I think. You know, for all of that. So, I mean, I think it's a fantastic record. I think you should be very, very proud.
Thanks.
It's a strong debut. You know. Yeah, and I really look forward to seeing other people get a chance to hear it. Like, I can't wait to share it as well. You know,
awesome,
especially with my viewers. So what is on the horizon? The record comes out August?
Yeah, August 9th.
9th, yeah.
Okay. And then we have, like, it sounds like you guys are busy, because trying to schedule this was like, well, we either have now or we don't know.
Yeah, we have a little bit of time off right now. Maybe some of the most time off we've had since February or something.
Yeah,
or
we kind of been
before
going nonstop since February.
Doing a lot of touring. And
that's great, though.
We're going to get back into it in just a couple of weeks.
Right. So this is supporting the new album.
Yeah, I mean, I guess so. Yeah. And yeah, we have we're going to like play some festival in Ohio, and then we go to the East Coast and do the Newport Folk Festival, and got a bunch more touring. I can't remember the whole schedule now, but then we're going to go to Europe for the first time.
Oh, it's great.
Later this year too.
Yeah.
In November.
Now, is this all like mostly headlining, or are you working with another band like in Europe? Or
in Europe, the new ones are gonna. I think there's some festival dates.
Okay.
And then
a little bit of headlining too. Yeah, we just got back from a tour in Canada, which was our first time playing outside of the country.
How was that?
It was great.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was 3 festivals, and then we did our own headlining show in Toronto. And they all were really great, you know.
The Itchy Bonds.
Oh yeah, the Itchy Bonds,
Really great guys.
And then Jake, right? Jake's not with us right now, but he plays bass.
Yeah, he's with us. Yeah,
he's with us in spirit. So does he mostly play upright?
He plays both. I think he was primarily an upright player.
Yeah,
I've known him forever. We played in a lot of bands together, and yeah, when we started out, when I was playing with him at first, he was always playing the upright.
Gotcha.
But yeah, he plays elutric bass too for some of the songs.
Yeah, I like hearing both, especially in a live setting, because the upright just that sound, it's hard to beat.
Yeah,
I mean, even a fretless electric that's got its own sound. It's not quite the same.
It's also the slapping the bass has that kind of percussiveness to it.
Yes.
He gets on a lot of the songs we do. That's pretty important, I think, to our sound.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Did he also come from rockabilly, or?
Yeah, me and Jake used to, when we were like, we probably started playing together when we were like 16, 17, and we were playing a lot of rockabilly. Some of the first music I played for dancers, you know, we'd play at bars around LA. Doing like kind of real like early kind of almost country sort of rockabilly, like kind of hillbilly or
Right,
right. You can call it, you know.
Like who are some of like the influences of that entity?
And I guess like the Johnny Burnett trio is a big one. Obviously, like the Elvis the trio, you know, with the Sun Sessions Elvis.
Yeah.
But there was all these like little bands, like this guy Dean Beard, or like I'm trying to remember these other guys who recorded sometimes just 1 or 2 45s.
Right.
You know, and that stuff was.
Or like Billy Lee Riley was kind of one of those.
Yeah, I don't know about him.
Oh, he did that Flying Saucer Rock and Roll.
Oh, yeah, okay.
I think he also did like a follow-up with Little Green Men or something.
Yeah.
There was a lot of funny novelty songs in the 50s. Right? I guess there always is, but for some reason Rockabilly had them as well. But that music, like when it's done right, it's just really exciting and danceable. And I think we brought a lot of that kind of energy into the stuff we do with LOM, you know. Oh, yeah, definitely. Well, I'm really looking forward to seeing you guys live.
Cool.
I'm bummed I'll miss this upcoming show, but I'm sure I'll catch another one.
We're gonna be playing at
the Mayan.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a great venue.
October 18th.
Yeah,
I think it's October 18th.
Okay.
So if you want to come to see.
Cool.
Yeah, let us know.
Yeah, that'd be great. Yeah, the first time I went there, I saw Lucha Vavoom, and I was like, "What is this?"
Yeah, they don't have. But we really wanted to play that venue. It just felt like the right place to. Play our LA record debut, show. But
do you have favorite venues here in LA that you love to play, or any ones that like a dream venue? How about that?
I don't know. we played a lot of cool venues already. That, didn't imagine we would.
I guess the Palladium or the Bowl.
Yeah, those are two we talked about.
Those are so iconic.
The Greek or something.
Yeah, the Greek would be cool too.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. You just need a dance floor though.
That's the thing. That's the thing.
The Palladium's good for that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The Bowl is very cool, and I feel like we have to play there anyway. But
we don't like playing seated places that much,
Right. Yeah. Thank you so much for coming on by.
Thanks for having us, man.
Yeah. Appreciate your time.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you all so much for watching. I'm your Vinyl Geek, and we'll catch you on the flip side.